Can I pause? No, I press start to tilt, or slam it, and select slams the table in the other direction. Okay. Can I hold down? No, down doesn't do anything. So I hold down the B button to launch. Okay, there we go. There's the plunger. This is Pinbot on the NES. It's programmed by Rare. Yes, those brothers and sisters at Rare out in, I forget where in England they are. The creators of Battletoads. As I recall, the book, Blake Harris's book, Console Wars, said that Rare was one of those non-Japanese companies that actually made an impression very early with Nintendo, because basically there was apparently some racism, chauvinism going on. And Japan didn't think that a non-American or that a non-Japanese programmer could make a good video game. But Rare impressed Nintendo enough by apparently reverse engineering the NES, by just sort of showing them that they knew what they were doing, so they earned their respect. So I forget what game, I want to say Slalom. Yeah, Slalom I think was the first game they did. And 60 FPS, really good, assembly language programming going on there. Runs at a really high frame rate. Runs way better than any of the, the Amstrad CSI, whatever those darn computers were called, those PCs in England. Their NES games run a lot better. And apparently, I forget at one point before Battletoads came out, I want to say in the 1990, they were the most prolific developer on the NES. They said something like they went from producing 1 game a year or 2 games a year to developing something like 18 a year. Oh, I got multi-ball going. Don't even know how I did that. Whoop, whatever. But, yeah, they were pretty darn prolific. And, I mean, if you've played the Rare Replay, then you're familiar with some of their stuff. I don't know if Captain Skyhawk was included. I don't think Captain Skyhawk was included in that collection, which sucks. But if I might already have a copy. I'll see if I have a copy of that game in my closet somewhere. If I don't, then I can pick it up and use for like $5. Captain Skyhawk is a lot of fun. And super intense game that's sort of like, basically it's like Top Gun, but you don't have to land. It starts out like Ace Combat, actually. It's like a third-person dog-fighting sim where all you're basically doing is it's like Afterburner, actually. Starts out with an Afterburner-like system where you earn missiles, and you take those missiles to a top-down shooting section, kind of like Axelay, if that makes any sense. So Captain Skyhawk is a game with 2 parts. It's a game where you can do this Afterburner-like stage, and then once you get past the Afterburner stages, then you end up getting this, what the heck? And then we have a problem. Okay, so at least I can play the game normally. Don't know what happened to the text. There might be a connection problem with the pins. And the second half of Captain Skyhawk is sort of like Axelay. It's kind of like a third person behind. It's not a directly behind the plane view like in Afterburner, but it's a 3/4 behind the plane view. Like I said, like in John Madden Football, I guess, or like Axelay. Because all you really do is just move left and right and dodge obstacles and such. It's a lot easier to play than Zaxxon. You don't have to worry about your height in that mode. But again, that game had a pretty sick engine, 60 FPS, all the good stuff. I'll have to reseat this game in the morning to make sure we can see what the text is here. Like I said, this is a research stream. Enter my name, whatever. Yeah, we have a connection problem, kids. Don't know what this has to do with the pin connections, but hey. Can I end? There we go. Okay, yeah, this is stuck. That's the 1-player mode up there. Ball 1. Okay, so the table is fine. It's all the text that's mucked up. Okay, so hold down B to release the plunger. So everything else is me just kind of flipping the ball around. And this is cute. You can actually see the flippers on the very bottom of the screen. So they split the screen until the 2 merge. So when the screen scrolls as far down as it can. So that's actually kind of interesting. Good news is I can catch the ball. So that's good. So catching the ball is really easy in this game compared to Sonic Spinball. I should mention I'm a huge fan of pinball games. Full Tilt Pinball is one of my favorite games of all time, zero questions asked. Metroid Prime Pinball is probably my favorite. Actually, it's my favorite DS game of all time. And Little Mermaid Pinball 2 is a Game Boy Color game that included a little rumble pack. And that game is just a regular 2D top-down pinball game. Played that game, probably put 200 hours into that game. Insanely fun. Lots of fun little mini games too. So if you're looking for a pinball game, you don't want to spend a lot of money, and maybe you have a Game Boy Advance or you have a Game Boy Color, hopefully Little Mermaid Pinball isn't that expensive, but it's way better than the Pokemon pinball game. It's a lot better than the GBA pinball game, the Evo game, because that game's pretty much on rails. It's kind of like Sonic Spinball, and that the physics suck. So if you aim for a lane, the ball moves like it's on magnets. The physics in that game are pretty terrible. I played a little bit of Epic Pinball on the PC. I might still have the disc, because I'm pretty sure I bought that. I might have already sold it to Game. I actually might have sold it to EB Games about a decade or two ago, but back when they used to allow people to sell them used PC games. But I definitely owned Epic Pinball. Recorded the soundtrack, great soundtrack. I think it was like a mod tracker soundtrack. So it was a Sync-With soundtrack. Lots of samples, stuff like that. Really high energy soundtrack for that game. Well, for some of the tables, not for all of them. And I got, the Williams and Gottlieb pinball collections on the PSP, which actually, I believe it's the Williams collections that I love. Because there's a table called Nuts, I think it's a squirrel table called Nuts, I think. It's a multi-ball game, so as soon as you put in your quarter and you press the button, there's no plunger, it just throws 4 or 5 balls into the playfield, and you immediately start juggling all those nuts, those balls. And I remember that game being one of my favorite pinball games of all time, because I love multi-ball. It's just so nuts to have a game that starts out with this big, wide-open playfield. It's not like this. I think it's wider than it is tall. I think it's only, I guess you can call it a single screen, but take a regular pinball table and put it on and turn it sideways, landscape mode, I guess you could call it, and I guess that's what the playfield of the Nuts game is like. But that's on the PSP, and I want to say it's also on the PS2, so if you like your pinball, you like your video pinball, definitely get a hold of that game. I'm also a sucker for anthologies, obviously, but this Pinbot game isn't as much fun as I thought it'd be. The physics look like crap. The graphics are actually surprisingly good. I mean, yeah, considering what they had to work with, this isometric view really is pretty dope. Though apparently high-speed pinball looks a lot better. I think it's based on the same engine. So back to the plunging line. But yeah, that high-speed pinball, and I want to say one other game that Rare did, really made an impression, because it was a game where it took what was a pinball table and legitimately invested in the angles that you needed to do to make it look like a good pinball game. So this game does a pretty good job of that. I want to say this game got a 4 or 5 out of 5. Okay, the sound samples aren't that good, especially compared to Bases Loaded. Look, it's not a multi-ball, it's just a capture ball. So I'm glad the table works, even though the text doesn't seem to work anymore. But again, it took me an hour to clean this game well enough so that it would actually load. The good old days. Apparently, the greatest advantage of the old consoles is that multi-ball, right? Yep. See, I'm not gonna lose them. I'm not gonna lose the balls again. I don't know what he's saying. Probably the big advantage of these games is that as soon as you press the power button, you're ready to start in less than 10 seconds. no long boot times or whatever. Uh-oh, we're on another table. Or is it just a multiplier thing? Maybe I should keep this ball in the plunger. So it's safe. Yeah, it's safe there in the plunging lane, isn't it? Keep it right there. Okay, I'll launch it, whatever. So maybe that's why I need the split screen. It's like Excel, you know? In Excel, you split the window by putting a little pane down. You freeze the column. Yeah, you just kind of freeze the bottom. It's a cool little effect. I'm glad the Stamper Brothers did that. Whoever helped them out with that, I'm glad they did it. It's a cool little thing. But again, I got this game because it was super cheap and I love video pinball. But I'm not sure the physics of this game are all that good. But as an 8-bit pinball game, it's probably okay. I don't know if Midnight Magic's better. But I don't have Midnight Magic, I doubt. I have Midnight Magic, I'll check. But it's not in the Atari Legacy Collection. I'm thoroughly miffed about that. It might be a licensing issue, because I think Midnight Magic on the 2600 is a conversion of an actual arcade game, like an actual table. So that might have prevented them from actually making it. Because there's so many garbage games in that Atari vault, like 3D Tic-Tac-Toe and Backgammon and crap like that. So it's too bad they go. See, I got my text back. I don't know what's going on. It wasn't working before. Shoot again. Oh, so I didn't lose a ball? That's ball 3. Well, I got my text back. I don't know what happened. Looks like the... I guess the table graphics look better. I don't know what's going on with this console. But at least it works. So just have to make sure all the games are clean, because I got greedy and decided not to clean the game or the... I can't clean the contacts inside the system because I don't have a NES cleaning cart. And I don't have a tape cleaner with the long, wooden thing with it anymore. Maybe I can make one. I can make a makeshift one. As long as it doesn't break, I can probably try to clean those pins inside the unit. But again, this is a front-loading NES, so it's a dust trap. And I do not miss the bad old days where you had to, where I'm blowing into the cartridge for 10 minutes and I'm slamming on the spring multiple times just to make sure it works. It's garbage. I hate that. Never going back to that. Of course, I rarely had a problem with the Super NES, and I don't think I ever had a problem with the Genesis. I didn't own that for very long, though, maybe a couple of years. But of course, these CD games, they work pretty well. I've had a 360 for I think 5 or 6 years, and I think it's only red ringed once. It works. It's been pretty darn reliable. I guess GameStop refurbished it. Maybe I forget if it's a refurbished unit. It's probably why it's so reliable. But I forget if I don't know what happened with those bumpers there. But I forget the graphics on those bumpers look awful, by the way. But I forget if the 360, the initial run of 360s, apparently had a massive reliability problem. I want to say that, well, Wikipedia apparently cited some article that said he has a 50% repair rate or 50% failure rate. That's awful. Half of all the 360s had a power supply problem. I forget what it was. But I remember when the Jasper units came out. I want to say they were like the 4th or 3rd run of 360 designs. And the Jasper units apparently were the ones you had to have because they didn't have the power supply problems. And I want to say, I think what they did is the power supply was initially inside the unit, and eventually they just said, you know what, screw this, we'll attach the power supply to a plug that's outside of the unit, so it's not as much of a generator, I suppose. And I want to say every console should do that. Like literally just have a big brick, a power brick that's outside the unit, so you can fit more. You can fit more cooling solutions inside of it. You can fit more processors inside of it. Fit more RAM inside of it, and it's just less of a hassle. I mean, I know the brick costs money. Of course, it's a proprietary part, but if it can save you on headaches down the line, do that. Why keep the power supply inside the unit if it's just going to generate heat and take up space? So I'm glad they did that. I don't know if I don't think I have a Jasper unit, but I'm the kind of person who I'll just buy the cheapest iteration of a console they have. So when I buy my Xbox One, I'm definitely buying the cheapest one. I'm going to sell this, and I'm going to sell Killer Instinct. It's almost complete because I don't have it. I can't find my Killer Cut CD. And I'm miffed about that because it's going to cost me $3 in store credit because I can't find it. But I might just wait. I heard a beep, and I don't know what the beep was about. Did David Wise do the music for this? Because he did the music for almost every other Rare game, it looks like. He might have done the music for this game. David Wise, like I said, Rare guy. The Rare's in-house composer, I guess. Or at least their regular composer. Did Donkey Kong Country. Did Battletoads on the Super. He did all versions of Battletoads. Including the arcade game, as I recall. Actually, I want to say someone else did the arcade game's music. I forget. But yeah, David Wise is the Rare guy. So if you've played a Rare game, chances are he did the music. Off the top of my head, best NES soundtrack David Wise did. Cobra Triangle. That's my... If it's not number one, it's in the top 3. In fact, it's better than most of his Super NES music, to be fair. It's certainly better than any of the other Battletoads music, I'll say that. Now, some of the Battletoads music is okay. It's just that, compared to Cobra Triangle, it just doesn't compare. And of course, everyone thinks that, Donkey Kong Country is a masterpiece, and it probably is. It's definitely an underrated sound. I want to say it was an underrated soundtrack because at the time, everyone was talking about those stupid canned animation cycles using the Silicon graphics thing that blew everyone's mind back then. Those graphics did not age well. The whole ugly, faded claymation look. I don't think that stood the test of time. But the music mostly does. It's a really dope soundtrack. Some of the time. Not all of the time. In fact, some of the songs are like twice as long as they should be. And that's kind of disappointing. Do I need to capture 2 balls to get that multi-ball? Okay, I see that arrow up there in the top left-hand corner of the screen that says Life Extra. I want to see if I can get that. Let me capture the ball. The physics here are the opposite of floaty. I want to say they're almost too rigid. I got something, and I lost the ball. Did I get something good? Nope, I lost the ball. Crap. Sadder. So am I out of balls? Yep. Out of balls. I guess that's not the video here. So Pinbot, ladies and gentlemen, don't know what happened. I just kept flipping the ball while ranting, running at the mouth.